All right, number 1 gives us this triangle, and it asks us to find this angle theta. And so here, since we know the opposite side and we know the hypotenuse, we're going to use sine. Sine of theta is going to be equal to the length of the opposite side, which is 2, over the length of the hypotenuse, which is 3. And now, to get that theta, we're going to need to use inverse sine. So we take the inverse sine of both sides. It's going to give us theta here, and on the other side we have inverse sine of 2 over 3. And now we plug that into the calculator. And inverse sine of 2 over 3 is going to give us 41.8. And that's our answer. That's our angle, is 41.8 degrees. All right. Number 3. Number 3 now says, in the movie Moana uses her hand to measure the altitude of a group of stars. She lines up her thumb with the horizon and finds that the star she is measuring appears to be 6 inches above the horizon. If the distance from her eye to her thumb is 16 inches, what is the angle of elevation of the star? So what she's doing here is using similar triangles. So she's here looking off toward this star millions of miles out in the distance. But she's spotting her hand. She's looking at her thumb and her forefinger right here, and noticing that it appears to be 6 inches. The star appears to be 6 inches above the horizon. And so what that means is, going all the way out here to this star, this angle is going to be the same for this short little triangle between her eye and her thumb and the tip of her finger, as it would be all the way out to the, if you continued going straight forever toward the horizon, and the elevation up to where that star actually is, millions of light years away. And so we're trying to find this angle here. We know that this height here is 6 inches. This is going to be a right angle, because that's how we're measuring this angle of elevation from the horizon straight up to where the star appears to be. And we know that the distance from her eye to her thumb is 16 inches. And so this, we'll call this angle theta, is the angle of elevation of that star. And so here we know the opposite side, we know the adjacent side, so we're using tangent. The tangent of theta is equal to the length of the opposite side, which is 6, over the length of the adjacent side, which is 16. And so now we take the inverse tangent of both sides. We get theta is equal to the inverse tangent of 6 over 16. And if we plug that into our calculator, the inverse tangent of 6 divided by 16 gives us 20.6. 20.6 degrees is the angle of elevation of that star, given those measurements.